venture into the eerie story of the Axeman of New Orleans, a figure that filled the hearts of the city's residents with dread. A specter in the night, this mysterious murderer ignited a collective fear that swept over the city like a shadowy fog. His name alone was enough to send shivers down the spine of even the toughest gangsters in the city's infamous underworld. This enigmatic villain was not your run-of-the-mill criminal. His choice of victims, his terrifying threats, and his inexplicable link to jazz music made him a figure of horror and fascination. He chose his victims not by their wealth or social status, but by their connection to the soulful melodies of jazz. With each strike, he choreographed a terrifying dance of death set to the rhythm of a city entranced by music. The Axeman's story is one deeply intertwined with the rich culture of New Orleans, a city known for its vibrant music, lively festivals, and a darker mystical underbelly. The very essence of the city seemed to play into his hands, his deeds echoing through the narrow alleyways, causing even the bravest of souls to cower in fear. The jazz clubs, once bustling with life, became silent, their patrons too afraid to become his next victims. The Axeman was not just a murderer, but a puppeteer, pulling at the strings of the city's psyche. He did not just kill, he orchestrated a symphony of fear that played out in the minds of every resident. The city was his stage, the people his audience, and every murder another dreadful performance. Yet, despite his reign of terror, he was never caught, his identity remaining a chilling secret. His story is not just a tale of crime, but a testament to the profound cultural impact an unsolved mystery can have on a city. It is a narrative of fear and music, of a city held hostage by a phantom killer. Even now, decades later, his presence can still be felt. His story lives on, echoing through the music-filled streets of New Orleans, his deeds seeping into the city's lore. The specter of the Axeman continues to haunt the melodies of jazz to this day. The story of the Axeman of New Orleans serves as a chilling reminder of a time when the city danced a fearful waltz with a ghostly killer. Let's take a step back in time to New Orleans in the late 1910s, a city of contrast, where the grandeur of its French and Spanish colonial past clashed against the harsh realities of the modern industrial age. The streets were a blend of old and new world charm, horse-drawn carriages sharing the roads with nascent automobiles. In the heart of the city, the French Quarter, with its narrow cobblestone streets and wrought-iron balconies, was a hotbed of creativity and cultural exchange. Here, amidst the hustle and bustle, a new form of music was taking root: jazz. Born out of a fusion of African rhythms, European harmonies, and the soulful blues of the American South, jazz was a musical revolution that would soon take the world by storm. In the late 1910s, New Orleans was the epicenter of this revolution. It was a city filled with music, from the grand opera houses to the lively dance halls, from the bustling street corners to the smoky jazz clubs. Music was everywhere. It was in the air you breathed, in the beat of the city's heart. Jazz was not just a style of music, it was a way of life. It was the soundtrack to a city that refused to be silenced, a city that danced to its own rhythm. The jazz clubs of New Orleans were the stages where this symphony of life was played out every night. Musicians like Jelly Roll Morton, Louis Armstrong, and King Oliver were the architects of this new sound, their innovative compositions and electrifying performances setting the standard for all that was to follow. But as the city danced to the rhythm of jazz, it was also living in the shadow of a phantom killer. The Axeman's reign of terror cast a dark cloud over the city's vibrant music scene. Jazz clubs became silent, musicians and patrons alike living in fear of becoming his next victims. Yet despite the shadow of fear, the spirit of jazz lived on, its soulful melodies a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. The late 1910s were a pivotal period in the history of New Orleans. It was a time of cultural innovation and social upheaval, a time when the city's character was being shaped by the forces of change. And it was during this period, against this backdrop of music and fear, that the story of the Axeman of New Orleans played out. Join us as we delve deeper into this era, exploring the city's cultural landscape and the birth of jazz in the context of the Axeman's reign of terror.
Stay tuned as we uncover the untold stories of New Orleans in the late 1910s, a city dancing to the rhythm of jazz under the shadow of the Axeman.
Let's delve deeper into the heart of the mystery. As the city danced to the rhythm of jazz, an ominous undercurrent of fear ran through its streets. The Axeman was on the loose, his gruesome murders sending shockwaves through the community. The first murder took place on May 23, 1918, when an Italian grocer and his wife were attacked in their home. The brutality of the crimes was shocking. The victims hacked to death with an axe. The city was gripped with fear, each new murder adding to the growing terror. The investigation was led by the New Orleans Police Department, who were soon overwhelmed by the sheer brutality and randomness of the crimes. The Axeman seemed to strike without motive, his victims chosen seemingly at random. The only common thread was the murder weapon, an axe, often left at the scene of the crime. Despite their best efforts, the police were unable to apprehend the killer, their investigation hindered by a lack of evidence and the sheer randomness of the attacks. But it was the letters, chilling and taunting, that really sent a chill down the city's spine. Sent to local newspapers, the letters were supposedly written by the Axeman himself. In them, he claimed to be a demon from hell, who had taken a liking to the music of jazz. He promised to spare any house where jazz music was playing on a certain night. This led to a citywide jazz fiesta as people played jazz music in their homes, hoping to deter the Axeman. These letters are now infamous, a chilling reminder of the reign of terror that once gripped New Orleans. They have been widely analyzed and debated, with many speculating about the Axeman's true identity and motives. Some believe that the letters were a hoax, a cruel joke played on a terrified city. Others believe that they were the work of a madman, a deranged killer seeking attention and notoriety. This scene will feature newspaper clippings, police reports, and crime scene photographs from the time, giving viewers a detailed look at the investigation and the infamous letters. We'll also be using dramatic voiceover readings of the letters to really bring the chilling words of the Axeman to life. Join us as we explore this dark chapter in New Orleans history and try to unravel the mystery of the Axeman. Let's dive deeper into the sea of speculation that surrounds this enigmatic figure, the Axeman. Who was he? What was his motive? Various theories have been proposed over the years. Some believe he was a sadistic serial killer, his crimes a twisted form of pleasure. Others speculate he was a deranged man, driven by delusions of being a demon. There are those who suggest that the Axeman was not one, but several people, possibly part of a mafia group targeting the Italian community. Each theory is more chilling than the last. To illustrate these theories, we will use a combination of dramatic reenactments, archival footage, and expert interviews. We'll walk you through each theory, presenting the evidence or lack thereof that supports it. We will also explore the cultural and social context of the time, which may have influenced the Axeman's actions or the public's perception of him. The first theory we delve into is the sadistic pleasure theory. According to this, the Axeman was a serial killer who derived pleasure from his brutal crimes. This theory is supported by the extreme brutality of the murders and the seemingly random selection of victims. The second theory, the delusional demon, suggests that the Axeman was a mentally unstable individual who genuinely believed he was a demon. The chilling letters sent to the newspapers in which the Axeman claimed to be a demon from hell lend some credence to this theory. Lastly, we explore the mafia theory. Given that many of the Axeman's victims were Italian grocers, some speculate that he was part of the mafia, and these murders were a form of mob justice. As we journey through these theories, remember the truth remains as elusive as the Axeman himself. Join us as we try to unmask the demon and shed some light on the dark mystery that is the Axeman of New Orleans. Let us now travel back to the early 20th century and immerse ourselves in the cultural milieu of New Orleans, a city known for its vibrant music, rich history, and diverse ethnic makeup. This era was a time of great change, with the birth of jazz music, the rise of organized crime, and the influx of Italian immigrants who brought with them their own unique culture. It's important to understand this backdrop to fully appreciate the Axeman's reign of terror. Using a combination of archival photos, historical documents, and expert interviews, we'll paint a vivid image of this unique time and place. New Orleans was a melting pot of cultures, with African, French, Spanish, and Italian influences all converging. The city's music scene was particularly vibrant, with the birth of jazz happening right in its heart. We'll show you clips of old jazz clubs and discuss how this new genre of music influenced the city's atmosphere. Next, we'll delve into the rise of organized crime. The Italian mafia was gaining power during this time, and some believe this played a role in the Axeman's murders. We'll present photos of old newspaper articles and interviews with crime historians to delve into this theory. Lastly, we'll explore the wave of Italian immigration to New Orleans at the time. Many of the Axeman's victims were Italian grocers, and we'll discuss how this immigrant community may have been targeted. We'll show you images of Italian neighborhoods and businesses from the early 20th century to give you a sense of their lives. As we journey through the cultural milieu of New Orleans and its historical context, we hope to provide a broader understanding of the environment in which the Axeman thrived. It's a city filled with music, diversity, and mystery, much like the Axeman himself. Join us as we continue to unravel the enigma of the Axeman of New Orleans. Let's now step into the shoes of the residents of early 20th century New Orleans, a city pulsating with life, music, and an undercurrent of fear. We'll start with a dramatic reenactment, complete with period costumes and settings to take you back to the jazz-filled nights and vibrant streets of the city. As the scene unfolds, listen closely to the background music, a haunting rendition of a popular jazz tune from that era, encapsulating the thrilling and terrifying ambience that prevailed during the Axeman's reign. As we walk you through the cobblestone streets, you'll hear the echo of the saxophone bouncing off the walls of the French Quarter, the clip-clop of horse-drawn carriages, and the distant chatter of the Italian immigrants in the grocers. You'll feel the palpable tension in the air, the silent dread that lurked beneath the lively music and vibrant culture. Now let's dive deeper into the mystery with our guest experts. We have invited renowned historians and crime experts who will share their insights about this period. They'll discuss the rise of the Italian mafia, the cultural dynamics of the city, and the potential motives behind the Axeman's choice of victims. We'll also have a special segment where a music historian will explore how jazz, the unique soundtrack of the city, might have played into the psyche of the Axeman. Using a combination of music theory and psychological analysis, we'll delve into how the cultural fabric of New Orleans may have influenced the Axeman's modus operandi. In this immersive journey through time, we hope to bring you closer to understanding the chilling mystery of the Axeman and the city he haunted. Stay tuned as the echoes of the past continue to resonate in our quest to unravel the Axeman of New Orleans. Moving from the cobblestone streets of the past, we now turn our attention to the legacy the Axeman has left behind. The Axeman's reign of terror not only sparked fear, but it also left an indelible mark on true crime and jazz culture. To illustrate this, we'll be showcasing a selection of media that depict the Axeman's legacy. We start with a look at the myriad of true crime books that feature the Axeman's story, each adding its own unique twist to the tale. These narratives, steeped in the chilling ambience of the Axeman's reign, have captivated readers around the world, further solidifying the Axeman's place in true crime history. We'll be featuring excerpts from these books read by professional voice actors to bring the stories to life. Next, we delve into the world of film and television. The Axeman's tale has been adapted in numerous movies and TV series, from gritty crime dramas to supernatural thrillers. We'll be showcasing clips from some of these adaptations, highlighting how each one interprets and portrays the Axeman's story. Finally, we explore the Axeman's influence on jazz culture. The Axeman's infamous letter, where he spared those who played jazz, has been immortalized in numerous jazz compositions. We'll be playing snippets of these songs, demonstrating how the Axeman's story has been woven into the fabric of jazz music. Through these various forms of media, we see how the Axeman's reign of terror has transcended time, leaving a lasting legacy in true crime and jazz culture. As we delve into these works, we hope to shed more light on the Axeman's impact and the enduring fascination with his story.